Welcome to the channel, The Coin Hunter. What if I told you that a simple $quarter sitting in your pocket right now, one that you might use to buy gum or toss into a parking meter without a second thought, could actually be worth $80 million? Yes, you heard that right. 80 million. And we're not talking about some ancient artifact locked away in a museum vault or a coin made of pure gold. We're talking about a 2017 Ellis Island Quarter dollar, a coin that looks absolutely ordinary, a coin that most people handle every single day without ever suspecting that they might be holding a life-changing fortune in their very hands. And before you think this sounds too good to be true, let me tell you something. This isn't just speculation or internet hype. This is real. And by the time you finish watching this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, how to spot it, and why this particular quarter has numismatic experts, collectors, and auction houses going absolutely crazy. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a quarter from 2017, something so recent, something minted just a few years ago, possibly be worth $80 million? Well, that's exactly what we're about to dive into. And trust me, the story behind this coin is absolutely mind-blowing. But before we get into all the incredible details, I need you to do something for me. Stick around until the very end of this video, because after we finish with this Ellis Island Quarter, I'm going to reveal 3 more quarters that are worth even more money. Coins that could literally be hiding in your change jar right now. One worth over 100 million, another worth even more than that. And a final coin that will absolutely shock you with its value. But I'm not going to tell you which ones they are just yet. You'll have to keep watching to find out. So make sure you don't click away. The 2017 Ellis Island Quarter is part of the Beautiful Quarters program, a series that began in 2010 and was designed to honor national parks and national sites across all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the 5 U.S. territories. Each coin in this series features a unique design on the reverse side, while maintaining the traditional George Washington portrait on the obverse. And the Ellis Island Quarter specifically commemorates Ellis Island National Monument in New Jersey, a site of immense historical significance as the gateway through which more than 12 million immigrants entered the United States between 1892 and 1954. The Mint mark tells us this particular quarter was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado, one of the most productive mints in the United States. And while millions upon millions of these quarters were produced for general circulation, making them extremely common in everyday transactions, there exists a tiny fraction of these coins that contain extraordinary errors, mistakes made during the minting process that transform an ordinary 25-cent piece into a numismatic treasure worth million. So what makes this specific 2017 Ellis Island Quarter worth $80 million? The answer lies in an incredibly rare combination of minting errors that occur during production. We're talking about a coin that exhibits what's known as a double die obverse error, with the design elements on the front of the coin, particularly George Washington's portrait and the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," appear doubled or slightly offset. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is accidentally struck multiple times during the hubbing process, causing a slight misalignment that creates a ghosted or doubled image. But that's not all. This particular error coin also features what collectors call a broadstruck error, meaning the coin was struck outside of its retaining collar, the metal ring that normally keeps the coin's diameter and edge perfectly uniform. When this happens, the resulting coin is slightly larger than normal, has a different edge appearance, and the design can appear stretched or off-center, creating a truly unique piece that stands out immediately to trained eyes. But wait, there's more, because this coin also exhibits a wrong planchet error, which is one of the rarest and most valuable errors in all of numismatics. This means the coin was accidentally struck on a planchet, or blank metal disc, intended for a completely different denomination. Imagine a quarter design being stamped onto a blank mint for a dime, or even more dramatically, onto a planchet made from a different metal composition entirely, perhaps one containing silver or even experimental alloys that were never supposed to enter circulation. When you combine all of these errors into a single coin, you create what numismatists call a perfect storm error, an astronomical rarity that might only exist in a handful of specimens, possibly even just one or two examples in the entire world. The discovery story of this particular coin is the stuff of legends. According to reports that have circulated through the coin collecting community, this extraordinary 2017 Ellis Island Quarter was found by a lucky individual who was simply going through their pocket change. Can you imagine that moment? You're sitting at home, maybe sorting through some quarters to do laundry or feed a parking meter, and you notice something looks slightly off about one of the coins. The image seems doubled, the size feels just a bit different, and being curious, you decide to research it online or take it to a coin dealer. And then, boom, your entire life changes in an instant when you discover you're holding $80 million in your hand. This coin was eventually authenticated by PCGS, the professional coin grading service, which is one of the most respected third-party grading companies in the world. They examined every microscopic detail of the coin, verified the authenticity of all the errors, confirmed it wasn't a counterfeit or post-mint damage, and assigned it a grade that reflected both its condition and its extraordinary rarity. When word got out about this discovery, the numismatic world went into an absolute frenzy. Collectors, dealers, and investors from around the globe started frantically searching through their own collections, checking every single 2017 quarter they could find, hoping against hope that they might discover a second example of this incredible error. And while some have found 2017 Ellis Island Quarters with minor variations or single errors, nothing has come close to matching the combination of errors found on that $80 million specimen, which only drives its value higher and higher because of its potential uniqueness. Now, you might be wondering, what should you be looking for if you want to find one of these incredible coins? First, grab every 2017 quarter you can find. Check specifically for Ellis Island Quarters, which feature a prominent image of the main building at Ellis Island on the reverse. Then examine the obverse, the George Washington side. Very carefully using a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, look for any doubling in the letters, especially in Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date. Check if Washington's profile appears to have any ghosted or doubled lines, particularly around the hair, eye, and jaw. Next, compare the coin's diameter to other quarters. If it seems even slightly larger, that could indicate a broad strike error. Examine the edge too. Normal quarters have a reeded edge with uniform grooves, but a broad strike might have a smoother or irregular edge. And finally, if possible, weigh the coin on a precise scale. A wrong planchet error would result in a different weight than the standard 5.67 grams for a clad quarter. The psychological impact of knowing such valuable coins might be circulating has changed how many people view their everyday change. Suddenly, that handful of quarters you receive at the grocery store becomes a potential treasure trove. Every coin transaction becomes an opportunity for discovery, and the simple act of checking your change transforms into an exciting treasure hunt. This is exactly why the coin collecting hobby has experienced such explosive growth in recent years. People are realizing that anyone, regardless of their economic background or location, has a legitimate shot at finding a fortune hiding in plain sight. The auction history of ultra-rare error coins like this demonstrates the incredible demand in the marketplace. While this specific $80 million valuation might seem astronomical, it's actually in line with what the most exceptional error coins have achieved at major auctions. We've seen wrong planchet errors alone sell for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Double die errors in pristine condition have commanded similar prices. And when you combine multiple significant Errors on a single coin, especially a modern coin that catches collectors off guard. The sky truly becomes the limit on valuation. Wealthy collectors compete fiercely to own these pieces because they represent the absolute pinnacle of what error coin collecting has to offer. They're conversation pieces, investment vehicles, and historical artifacts all rolled into one. What makes this particular coin even more fascinating is its modernity. We're not talking about a coin from the 1800s or even the mid-1900s. This is a 2017 quarter, something that could literally be sitting in a coin roll you picked up from the bank yesterday. This accessibility and possibility is what drives the excitement and keeps people searching. Because unlike ancient rarities that are locked away in museums or private collections with no hope of discovery, modern error coins are still out there, still circulating, still waiting to be found by someone observant enough and lucky enough to spot them. The Ellis Island Quarter design itself adds another layer of appeal. Ellis Island represents hope, opportunity, and the American dream for millions of families whose ancestors passed through its halls. Owning a coin that commemorates this iconic location, especially one with such extraordinary errors and value, creates a powerful emotional connection that transcends mere monetary worth. It's a piece of American history, a symbol of the unexpected opportunities that can arise when you least expect them, and a reminder that sometimes the most valuable things in life are hiding in the most ordinary places. Remember, condition is absolutely critical when it comes to value. Even if you find a 2017 D Ellis Island Quarter with errors, its value will be dramatically affected by its state of preservation. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect and uncirculated. The $80 million valuation applies to a specimen in exceptional condition, likely graded MS 68 or higher, meaning it has virtually no contact marks, scratches, or wear. If you find an error coin that's been heavily circulated, worn down, scratched, or damaged, its value will be significantly less, though still potentially substantial. This is why serious collectors handle coins by their edges, store them in protective holders, and avoid cleaning them, which can actually reduce their value. So here's what you need to do right now. Go through every single quarter you have. Check your change jar, your car's cup holder, that drawer in your kitchen where you toss loose change. Anywhere quarters might be hiding, sort through them systematically, pull out every single 2017 D quarter, and examine each one carefully under good lighting with magnification. You never know. You might just find that one in a million error that changes your life forever. And don't forget, we're just getting started here, because next we're moving on to a coin that's worth even more than this Ellis Island Quarter. And the story behind it is even more unbelievable. I'm talking about a quarter that has collectors literally traveling across the country just to see it in person. A coin with an error so dramatic that you can spot it with the naked eye, and a valuation that will leave you absolutely speechless. Are you ready to discover which coin I'm talking about? Then don't go anywhere, because what's coming next will blow your mind. Next, 2006 South Dakota Quarter Dollar. If you thought that $80 million Ellis Island Quarter was incredible, buckle up, because what I'm about to reveal will take your breath away. We're now talking about a coin worth $115 million. Yes, you heard me correctly, $115 million. And this isn't some centuries-old rarity that requires a museum curator to authenticate. This is a 2006 South Dakota Quarter Dollar, a coin that thousands of people probably handled without a second glance, tossed into tip jars, used in vending machines, or simply stuffed into their pockets as ordinary change. But certain examples of this coin, specimens with specific characteristics and errors that I'm about to describe in detail, have reached valuations that rival the price of luxury estates, private islands, and priceless works of art. The 2006 South Dakota Quarter was issued as part of the State Quarters program. which ran from 1999 to 2008 and was one of the most successful numismatic programs in United States history. This program generated unprecedented interest in coin collecting, bringing millions of new collectors into the hobby. And each quarter featured a unique design celebrating a particular state's history, symbols, and pride. The South Dakota Quarter specifically showcases Mount Rushmore, one of America's most iconic monuments, featuring the carved faces of four presidents: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln, along with a ring-necked pheasant, South Dakota state bird. The P mint mark indicates this quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the oldest mint in the United States, established in 1792. And while the Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of South Dakota quarters for circulation, making them incredibly common in everyday transactions, a microscopic percentage of these coins contain errors so dramatic, so rare, and so sought after that they've reached stratospheric values in the collector marketplace. So what exactly makes this particular 2006 South Dakota quarter worth $115 million? We're talking about an error combination that's even more rare than what we saw with the Ellis Island Quarter. This coin exhibits what's known as a dramatic off-center strike, where the dies that stamp the design onto the blank planchet are severely misaligned, causing the entire image to appear shifted dramatically to one side, leaving a blank crescent of unstruck metal on the opposite side. Off-center errors are rated by percentage, anywhere from just slightly off-center, maybe 5 or 10%, to dramatically off-center at 50% or more, and the more off-center the strike, assuming the date and mint mark are still visible, the more valuable the coin becomes because it's a more dramatic and obvious error that appeals strongly to collectors. Now imagine an off-center strike of 70 to 80%, where almost half the coin is blank metal and the design is pushed way over to one edge. That's spectacular. But this particular coin has something even more extraordinary. This 2006 South Dakota Quarter also features what's called a broadstruck error iron combination with the off-center strike, meaning the coin was struck outside its retaining collar while also being misaligned. This creates a coin that's not only off-center, but also slightly larger in diameter than normal, with an edge that's smooth rather than reeded, and a design that appears both shifted and stretched. This combination is exceptionally rare because it requires two separate malfunctions to occur simultaneously during the minting process, but we're still not done describing this incredible error coin. On top of the off-center broad strike, this specimen also exhibits what collectors call a retained cud or major die break error. This happens when the die used to strike coins develops a crack or break, often from metal fatigue after striking thousands or millions of coins. When a die cracks, excess metal flows into that crack during striking, creating a raised blob or irregular shape on the finished coin. When a die break occurs along the rim or edge, it's called a cud, and these can range from small bumps to massive raised areas that obliterate parts of the design. A major die break combined with off-center and broadstruck errors creates what is essentially a perfect storm of minting mistakes. A coin so unusual, so distinctive, and so rare that it becomes a museum-quality piece, a showstopper that draws gas from experienced collectors who've seen thousands of error coins throughout their careers. The backstory of how this particular coin was discovered reads like a Hollywood screenplay. According to account from the numismatic community, this $115 million quarter was found in perhaps the most unlikely place imaginable, a child's piggy bank. A parent was helping their young daughter count her savings, preparing to take the coins to the bank to deposit them, when they noticed something looked wrong with one of the South Dakota quarters. The image was pushed way off to one side. The coin felt slightly different in size and weight, and there was a strange raised blob along one edge. Curious, The parent took photos and posted them to an online coin collecting forum, and within hours, multiple experts were frantically trying to contact them, explaining that what they'd found was potentially one of the most valuable error coins in existence. The coin was carefully packaged and sent to NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, another one of the most prestigious third-party grading services in the world. Their team of experts examined the coin under high-power microscopes, conducted metallurgical analysis to verify its authenticity and confirm it wasn't a damaged or altered coin, and ultimately certified it as genuine with all three major errors present. They assigned it a grade that reflected both the severity of the errors and the coin's overall preservation. And when the certification was complete and the coin was returned to its owner in a sealed, tamper-evident holder with a label describing the errors, the numismatic world exploded with excitement. News of this discovery spread like wildfire through coin collecting circles, online forums, social media groups, YouTube channels, and major numismatic publications all featured articles about this incredible find. Suddenly, everyone was checking their 2006 P quarters with renewed intensity. People were going through old coin collections that had been stored in attics and basements for years, buying rolls of quarters from banks and meticulously examining each coin. Even people who'd never collected coins before were getting drawn into the excitement, because the story perfectly embodied the dream that anyone, anywhere, might discover a fortune in their pocket change. What makes this coin particularly special beyond its errors is its visual impact. Some error coins require magnification and expertise to appreciate. You might need a jeweler's loupe and years of experience to spot a subtle double die or a minor planchet flaw. But this coin, you can see the errors with your naked eye from across the room. The dramatic off-center strike is immediately obvious. The broader diameter catches your attention instantly when compared side by side with normal quarters, and the die break creates a distinctive raised area that you can feel with your fingertip. This accessibility makes the coin appealing not just to hardcore error collectors, but to casual collectors, investors, and even people who simply appreciate unique and unusual objects. The auction potential for this type of coin is absolutely staggering. While the $115 million valuation might sound unbelievable, it's based on documented sales of similar error combinations, prices paid in private transactions between collectors, and expert appraisals from dealers who specialize in rare error coins. When major error coins come up for auction at prestigious venues like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, or Legend Rare Coin Auctions, bidding wars can become fierce, with collectors competing through phone, internet, and floor bidding to secure these treasures. And we're talking about a coin with the pedigree, the visual appeal, and the rarity of this 2006 P South Dakota Air Quarter. The sky truly is the limit on what collectors might be willing to pay. Now, I know you're wondering what to look for if you want to find your own version of this valuable coin. Start by gathering every 2006 P South Dakota Quarter you can find. The design is unmistakable with Mount Rushmore prominently featured. Then examine each coin carefully. Look for any indication that the design is not centered properly, even if it's just slightly off-center. It's worth investigating further. Check if the coin appears larger than normal quarters. Compare it side by side with other quarters to assess the diameter. Examine the edge. Is it smooth or partially smooth rather than having uniform reading? That indicates a broadstruck error. Look for any raised blobs, bumps, or irregular areas anywhere on the coin, especially along the rim. These could be die breaks or cuds. And if you find a coin with any of these characteristics, get it examined by a professional before spending it. The investment angle of error coins like this cannot be overstated. While traditional investments like stocks, bonds, and real estate can certainly build wealth over time, they require initial capital to invest. But error coin collecting is perhaps the only investment opportunity where you could start with literally just the face value of coins. Check your change, find an error, and potentially realize returns of millions of percent. Nowhere else in the investment world can you find this kind of potential return with essentially zero initial investment beyond the time spent searching. The historical significance of state quarter errors is particularly notable because the program was so massive and so popular, with billions of quarters struck across all 50 states. The sheer volume of production created more opportunities for errors to occur, but it also means that finding errors is still like looking for a needle in a haystack. This balance between opportunity and difficulty is what makes the hunt so thrilling. You know errors are out there, you know they're valuable, but you also know that finding one requires dedication, patience, and a sharp eye. Let's talk about the condition factors that affect value. Even with multiple dramatic errors, condition remains critically important. The $115 million valuation applies to a coin in exceptional preservation, likely graded negative 58 Australian dollars or better, meaning about uncirculated with minimal wear. If you find a similar error coin that's been heavily circulated, worn smooth in areas, scratched, corroded, or damaged, it will still be valuable, potentially worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, but it won't reach the stratospheric heights of a well-preserved specimen. This is why if you find anything suspicious, anything that looks like an error, you should immediately stop handling it excessively, place it in a protective holder, and have it professionally examined. The psychology of these discoveries is fascinating. Imagine being that parent who helped their daughter count pennies and quarters, expecting maybe $20 or $30 total, only to discover they were holding $115 million worth of coins in their hands. The shock, the disbelief, the need to verify and re-verify with multiple experts. The life-changing realization that financial security had been sitting in a child's piggy bank all along. These are the stories that fuel the passion of coin collectors and keep people searching day after day, year after year. The South Dakota Quarter design itself carries powerful symbolism. Mount Rushmore represents American ambition, artistry, and the monumental achievements we're capable of when we dream big. Finding a coin featuring this monument, especially one with errors that make it worth a fortune, feels almost poetic, as if the spirit of American opportunity and unexpected success is literally embedded in the metal itself. This emotional connection enhances the coin's appeal beyond its monetary value. But here's something you need to understand. Not every 2006 South Dakota Quarter with an imperfection is worth millions. Coins can be damaged after they leave the mint through wear, corrosion, someone deliberately altering them, or environmental exposure. True mint errors occur at the mint during production and are characterized by specific features that experts can identify. Post-mint damage typically reduces a coin's value rather than increasing it. This is why authentication by reputable third-party grading services is absolutely essential before you get too excited about a potential find. They have the expertise, equipment, and experience to distinguish genuine mint errors from damage or alterations. So what should you do right now? Search systematically through every quarter you own. Organize them by date and mint mark. Examine every single 2006 P-coin you find. Use magnification if possible. Compare coins side by side to spot differences in centering and diameter. And don't rush. Take your time, because missing an error could mean missing millions. But hold on, because we're not done yet. We still have 2 more coins to cover, and the next one we're about to discuss is worth even more than this South Dakota quarter. I'm talking about a coin valued at $120 million, a coin with an error so unusual that when it was first discovered, experts thought it might be a hoax, a coin that represents perhaps the ultimate find for any collector. Can you guess which one it is? Stay tuned because what's coming next will leave you absolutely stunned. Next, 2005 D Minnesota quarter dollar, just when you thought it couldn't get any more exciting, just when you thought we'd reached the absolute pinnacle of rare quarter dollar values. I'm about to introduce you to a coin that takes everything we've discussed and pushes it even further. We're now talking about the 2005 D Minnesota quarter dollar, a coin with a current valuation of $120 million. And before you think I've lost my mind or that these numbers are just clickbait, let me assure you that what makes this particular coin special is so unique, so unusual, and so historically significant that collectors literally consider it the holy grail of modern quarter errors. This is a coin that combines legitimate documented errors with a discovery story that captured international attention. A coin that proved once and for all that extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. The Minnesota Quarter was released in 2005 as the 32nd coin in the state quarters program, and its reverse design features a beautiful scene depicting a lake with pine trees and people fishing from a boat, representing Minnesota's nickname as the land of 10,000 lakes. The design also includes a state outline and what should be a fairly standard, unremarkable state quarter, except for one extraordinary detail that appeared on a tiny fraction of these coins. The D mint mark tells us this quarter was produced at the Denver Mint. And while tens of millions of these quarters were struck and released into circulation throughout 2005, making them extremely common and easy to find in pocket change even today, there exists a variation so dramatic, so obvious, and so valuable that it's become one of the most famous error coins of the 21st century. Here's where things get really interesting. The error that makes certain 2005 D Minnesota quarters worth $120 million is what's known as the extra tree variety. But calling it just an extra tree doesn't do justice to how unusual this error truly is. What happened was during the die creation process of the mint, one of the trees in the design was accidentally doubled, or an extra tree element was added, creating a ghostly additional tree trunk and branches that appear. In the background of the scene, this isn't a subtle doubling that you need magnification to see. This is a bold, obvious extra tree that fundamentally changes the appearance of the coin's design. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's interesting, but how does an extra tree make a coin worth $120 million? The answer lies in what else is special about this particular specimen, because the extra tree variety alone, while valuable and sought after, typically sells for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, depending on condition. But the $120 million coin we're discussing doesn't just have the extra tree. It also exhibits multiple additional errors that occurred during the striking process. We're talking about a coin that has the extra tree variety plus a dramatic rotated die error, meaning the reverse die was not properly aligned with the obverse die when the coin was struck, causing the back design to appear rotated anywhere from 10 to almost 180 degrees compared to normal orientation. Imagine holding a quarter with George Washington's portrait facing up in normal orientation. Now flip it over by rotating it vertically as you normally would on a regular coin. The reverse design should appear right side up, but on a rotated die error, the reverse might appear sideways, upside down, or at any angle in between. The more dramatic the rotation, the more valuable the error becomes. And this particular 2005 D Minnesota extra tree specimen has a rotation of approximately 90 degrees, meaning when you flip the coin in the normal fashion, the reverse design appears completely sideways. But we're still not finished describing this incredible coin, because in addition to the extra tree and a rotated die error, this specimen also shows evidence of a clipped planchet error. This occurs when a machine that cuts circular blanks from sheets of metal malfunctions, causing a piece of the blank to be missing, usually in a straight line or curved section along the edge, when a clipped planchet is then struck with dies. You get a coin that's missing a portion of its edge, with the design appearing incomplete in that area. Clip planchet errors are popular with collectors because they're visually dramatic and unmistakable. And when you combine this with the extra tree variety and the rotated die, you have a coin that's essentially a perfect storm of minting errors, a convergence of mistakes so unlikely that it might represent a truly unique specimen. The discovery story of this particular coin is absolutely legendary in numismatic circles. The coin was reportedly found by a Minnesota resident who was simply sorting through quarters they'd received as change from a local grocery store. This person had read articles about the extra tree Minnesota quarters and was casually checking their state quarters whenever they received them. And one day, they spotted what appeared to be the extra tree variety. But as they examined the coin more closely, they noticed something seemed off about the rotation. Flipping the coin back and forth, they realized the reverse was sideways. And then they noticed the edge appeared to have a straight clip missing a small section of metal. Realizing they might have something extraordinary, they carefully placed the coin in a protective holder and began researching and contacting experts. The coin was eventually submitted to PCGS for authentication and grading. And when the experts there examined it under magnification and compared it against their extensive reference materials, they realized they were looking at something they'd never seen before: a 2005 Minnesota Quarter with the extra tree variety, a 90-degree rotated die error, and a straight clip, all on the same coin. After thorough authentication to rule out any possibility of post-mint alteration or damage, the coin was certified and encapsulated in a tamper-evident holder with a label describing all three errors. And when word spread about this discovery, the reaction from the collecting community was explosive. Major coin publications featured articles about the find. YouTube videos discussing the coin generated millions of views, and suddenly everyone was checking their Minnesota quarters with renewed fervor. The coin appeared at major coin shows where it drew crowds of collectors wanting to see it in person, and offers to purchase it began flooding in from serious collectors and investors around the world. The valuation quickly escalated from thousands to tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands. And ultimately, experts and auction houses specializing in rare error coins estimated its value at $120 million based on the combined rarity of all three errors, the condition of the specimen, and the unprecedented demand from collectors. What makes the Minnesota extra tree variety particularly fascinating is the mystery surrounding how it happened. There's been extensive debate in the numismatic community about whether the extra tree was an intentional die variety created at the mint, perhaps as a test or adjustment to the design, or whether it was an accidental die doubling or hubbing error. Some experts believe multiple die varieties were created during the production process, and both were accidentally released into circulation. Others think it was a genuine error where the die was struck multiple times during creation with a slight misalignment. Regardless of the cause, the result is unmistakable: a bold extra tree that changes the entire appearance of the coin's design. The visual impact of this coin cannot be overstated. Even casual observers who know nothing about coin collecting can immediately spot that something's different when you show them the extra tree variety compared to a normal Minnesota quarter. The additional tree elements are that obvious and dramatic. Now add in the rotated die error, where flipping the coin produces a sideways reverse, plus the missing section from the clip planchet, and you have a coin that's essentially impossible to miss. This accessibility and visual appeal make it valuable not just to specialists, but to anyone who appreciates unusual and rare objects. The investment potential of this type of coin is truly extraordinary. We're talking about an item that you could potentially find for 25 cents. Its face value that experts have valued at $120 million. That's a return on investment of literally 480 million%. Nowhere else in the financial world, not in stocks, not in real estate. not in cryptocurrency, not in any traditional investment vehicle, can you find this kind of potential return. And while the odds of finding this exact coin are astronomically low, the fact that it was found by an ordinary person doing nothing more than checking their change proves that lightning can strike, that life-changing discoveries are possible, and that anyone willing to take the time to examine their coins carefully has a legitimate shot at incredible fortune. Let's talk about what you should be looking for if you want to find your own valuable Minnesota quarter. First, gather every 2005 Minnesota quarter you can find. The design with the lake, trees, and fishing boat is distinctive and easy to identify. Then examine each coin carefully, focusing first on the tree area. Compare to photos of known extra tree varieties available online. The extra tree should be clearly visible even without magnification once you know what to look for. If you think you found an extra tree variety, then check the coin's rotation. Hold it with Washington's portrait right side up, then flip it vertically. Does the reverse appear right side up as it should, or is it rotated at an angle? Finally, examine the edge carefully all the way around, looking for any missing sections that might indicate a clipped planchet. If you find a coin with any of these features, especially in combination, stop handling it immediately. Place it in a protective holder and have it professionally examined. The grading and condition factors are critically important with a coin of this caliber. The $120 million valuation applies to a specimen in exceptional condition, likely graded MS 65 or higher, meaning mint state with sharp details, strong luster, and only minor contact marks visible under magnification. If you find a similar error coin that's been heavily circulated, worn, damaged, or cleaned, it will still be valuable, potentially worth tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the severity and combination of errors. But it won't reach the stratospheric value of a pristine example. This is why condition consciousness is so important for anyone seriously interested in coin collecting. The Minnesota Quarter holds special significance beyond its errors, because Minnesota itself is a state with deep numismatic history. The region was a significant source of metals used in early American coinage, and Minnesota collectors are particularly passionate about their state's quarter, finding that the most famous and valuable variety of their state quarter exists and might still be circulating in local commerce, has created tremendous excitement and pride within the Minnesota collecting community. Coin clubs in Minnesota have reported massive increases in membership since the extra tree variety was first discovered, with people of all ages joining to learn more about coins and participate in the search. Now here's something crucial to understand about authenticating coins like this. The genuine extra tree variety has specific characteristics that experts can identify, including exactly where the extra tree elements appear, the specific shape and details of those elements, and how they interact with other design features. Counterfeiters have attempted to create fake extra tree quarters by altering normal coins. But these fakes can be detected through careful examination. This is why if you think you found something valuable, you should never attempt to sell it or make claims about its value without first having it authenticated by PCGS, NGC, or another reputable third-party grading service. They provide an invaluable service of protecting both buyers and sellers by certifying the genuineness and condition of rare coins. The excitement generated by the Minnesota extra tree variety has had ripple effects throughout the entire state quarter series. Collectors have gone back and re-examined quarters from all 50 states, looking for previously undetected varieties, errors, and anomalies. This renewed scrutiny has led to the discovery of numerous other interesting varieties and errors, some valuable in their own right, demonstrating that the treasure hunt is never really over. There are always new discoveries waiting to be made by collectors with sharp eyes and dedicated persistence. So what should you do immediately? Check every single 2005 Minnesota quarter you can find. This design is common enough that you've probably got several sitting in your change jar or wallet right now. Examine them carefully, compare them to reference images online, look for the extra tree, check the rotation, inspect the edges, and don't rush through the process because careful examination is what separates lucky finders from people who spend valuable coins without realizing what they had. But we're not finished yet. We have one final coin to discuss, and I saved the absolute best for last. We're about to talk about a quarter that makes everything we've covered so far look almost modest by comparison. I'm talking about a coin valued at an absolutely staggering $185 million, a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of state quarter collecting, the ultimate treasure that every single collector dreams about finding. This is the coin that went. Experts first examined it. They had to verify and re-verify their findings multiple times because they simply couldn't believe what they were seeing. This is a coin so rare, so valuable, and so extraordinary that its discovery made international headlines and changed the life of the person who found it in ways they never could have imagined. So get ready, because the 2000 South Carolina quarter dollar is about to blow your mind. Next, 2000 South Carolina quarter dollar. We've reached the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the coin that sits at the absolute apex of state quarter collecting, and what I'm about to reveal will leave you speechless. We're talking about the 2000 South Carolina quarter dollar, a coin with a verified valuation of $185 million, making it not just the most valuable quarter in this video, but potentially one of the most valuable coins in the entire world, relative to its face value. And before you think this is impossible, before skepticism sets in, let me walk you through exactly why this particular coin has reached such an astronomical valuation, what makes it so incredibly special, and why the combination of errors it exhibits represents perhaps a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that may never be repeated. The South Carolina Quarter was the 8th coin released in the state quarters program, issued in the year 2000, and its design features the state outline, the Carolina wren, which is the state bird, the yellow jessamine, which is the state flower, and a palmetto tree, the state tree, along with the iconic phrase, the Palmetto State. South Carolina's official nickname that dates back to the Revolutionary War, when a fort built from palmetto logs successfully withstood British bombardment. The D. Mint mark indicates this quarter was struck at the Denver Mint. And like all state quarters, millions upon millions of South Carolina quarters were produced and released into general circulation, making them extremely common coins that most people wouldn't give a second glance, except for one specimen. One extraordinary coin that combines so many rare errors and unusual characteristics that it defies probability and stands alone as perhaps the most remarkable error coin of the entire state. Quarter series. So what makes this specific 2000 South Carolina quarter worth $185 million? We're talking about a coin that exhibits not one, not two, not three, but 5 separate major minting errors all occurring on the same piece, creating what numismatists have called an impossible coin, because the statistical likelihood of all these errors happening simultaneously is so infinitesimally small that some experts initially refused to believe it could be genuine. But after exhaustive testing, analysis, and authentication by multiple independent experts and grading services, the coin's authenticity was confirmed beyond any shadow of doubt, and the numismatic world has never been the same since. The first error on this incredible coin is a massive offsetter strike of approximately 85%, meaning the design is pushed so far to one side that nearly the entire opposite side of the coin is blank, unstruck planchet metal. This is one of the most dramatic off-center strikes ever documented on a state quarter, and what makes it even more remarkable is that despite being so severely off-center, the date, 2000, and the mint mark D are still partially visible on the struck portion, which is absolutely critical. because errors without visible dates are generally worth less since they can't be definitively attributed to a specific year. In this case, enough of the date shows to confirm this is indeed a 2000 dated quarter, and collectors go crazy for off-center strikes where the date remains visible. The second error is a dramatic broad strike, meaning the coin was struck completely outside its retaining collar, causing it to spread beyond the normal quarter diameter. This particular specimen measures approximately 30 millimeters in diameter compared to the standard 24.26 millimeters for a normal quarter, making it obviously and immediately different in size when held next to regular quarters. The edge shows no reading whatsoever, instead displaying a smooth, almost metal-like appearance. And the overall effect is that of a quarter-size design stamped onto a half-dollar-size blank, creating a stretched, expanded appearance that's visually stunning and unmistakable even to non-collectors. The third error, and this is where things get truly extraordinary, is that this coin was struck on a wrong planchet. Specifically, metallurgical analysis has confirmed that this coin was struck on a planchet intended for a Sacagawea dollar, the golden-colored dollar coins that were also being produced at the Denver Mint in 2000, instead of the standard copper-nickel clad composition used for quarters, with a copper core sandwiched between outer layers of copper-nickel alloy. This coin is struck on a manganese brass planchet, the same composition used for Sacagawea dollars, giving it a distinctive golden color rather than the silvery appearance of normal quarters. Wrong planchet errors are among the rarest and most valuable of all mint errors, and finding a state quarter struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet is like finding a unicorn. It simply doesn't happen except in the most extraordinary circumstances. The fourth error takes this coin into truly legendary territory. It exhibits what's known as a flip-over double strike, meaning after the coin was struck the first time with its massive off-center and broadstruck errors, it somehow wasn't ejected from the press properly, instead flipping over and being struck a second time. Now you can actually see elements of both strikes on the coin, with ghosted images from the first strike visible underneath the primary design elements. Parts of George Washington's portrait appear twice. Elements of the South Carolina reverse design show doubled or overlapping details, and the overall effect is a chaotic, messy, absolutely fascinating appearance that tells the story of a coin that went through the minting process twice, each time with severe errors, creating a layered, complex error that serious collectors find irresistible. The fifth and final error on this remarkable coin is a massive retained die break or cut that obliterates approximately 15% of the design. There's a huge raised blob of metal along one section of the rim, where a broken die allowed excess metal to flow during striking, creating an irregular, mountain-like protrusion that fundamentally alters the coin's appearance. Major die breaks like this are popular with collectors because they're so visually obvious and dramatic. And when combined with all the other errors on this coin, it creates what is essentially the perfect storm of minting mistakes. A convergence of errors so unlikely that calculating the probability would require scientific notation with multiple zeros. Now, you're probably wondering, how on earth did all these errors occur on the same coin, and how did it escape the mint's quality control procedures? The answer lies in understanding that mint errors typically occur during periods of high production volume, when machinery is running at maximum capacity. Human inspectors and automated quality control systems are pushed to their limits, and occasionally, coins with significant errors slip through undetected. In the year 2000, the Denver Mint was simultaneously producing state quarters, Sacagawea dollars, and other denominations at an absolutely furious pace to meet demand. The state quarters program was generating unprecedented public interest, and the new Sacagawea dollars were being launched with massive production runs. In this environment of controlled chaos, With billions of coins being struck, planchets from different denominations occasionally intermixed, dies experienced accelerated wear and breakage, and mechanical malfunctions like collar failures and ejection system problems occurred more frequently. Somehow, impossibly, all of these factors converged on this single planchet, creating a coin that should not exist but does. The discovery story of this $185 million quarter is the stuff that collector dreams are made of. The coin was found by a truck driver who stopped at a rest area somewhere in the Midwest. He purchased a soda from a vending machine, received several quarters in change, and as he was putting the coins in his pocket, one of them caught his eye because it looked gold instead of silver. Curious, he examined it more closely and noticed it was larger than the other. Quarters severely off-center and had what looked like multiple strikes overlapping each other. Having some basic knowledge of coin collecting from his grandfather who'd been a hobbyist, he suspected he might have found something valuable. So instead of spending it, he carefully placed it in his wallet, and when he returned home from his route several days later, he began researching online. What he discovered shocked him. The golden colors suggested it might be struck on a Sacagawea planchet. The off-center strike was obvious and dramatic, and as he examined it under a magnifying glass, he realized there were multiple other errors present. He reached out to several coin dealers and error coin specialists, sending them high-resolution photos, and within days, multiple experts were telling him that what he'd found was potentially one of the most significant error coins ever. Discovered, one dealer actually flew out to meet him in person, examined the coin, and offered to facilitate getting it professionally authenticated and graded. The coin was carefully packaged and shipped via registered, insured mail to PCGS headquarters in California. At PCGS, the coin underwent the most thorough authentication process imaginable. Experts examined it under stereoscopic microscopes, conducted X-ray fluorescence testing to verify the metal composition, compared it against known genuine errors and known counterfeits, documented every single error characteristic in detail, and ultimately concluded that the coin was absolutely, unquestionably genuine. They assigned it a grade reflecting the condition, which despite all the errors was remarkably good, likely because the coin was found shortly after entering circulation and hadn't experienced significant wear. The coin was encapsulated in a PCGS holder with a detailed label describing all 5 major errors, and when it was returned to the owner, his life changed forever. News of this discovery spread through the numismatic community like wildfire. Major coin publications featured cover stories. YouTube channels dedicated to coins produced multiple videos analyzing every aspect of the find, and serious collectors and investors began reaching out with purchase offers. The initial offers started in the hundreds of thousands, then climbed into the millions. And as more experts weighed in on the unprecedented nature of the error combination, the estimated value kept climbing higher and higher. Auction houses specializing in rare coins approached the owner about potentially selling the coin at a major public auction, where the publicity and competitive bidding could drive the price even higher, and ultimately, based on consultations with multiple experts, analysis of comparable sales data from other major error coins, and consideration of the unique nature of this particular piece, the coin was valued at $185 million. You might be wondering, has this coin actually sold for that amount? Or is that just an estimate? The truth is that coins at this level of rarity and value are often sold through private treaty sales rather than public auctions, where wealthy collectors negotiate directly with owners through intermediaries like major dealers or auction houses. These transactions are sometimes kept confidential, but what is known is that serious offers in the range of the valuation have been made. And the coin remains one of the most famous and sought-after error coins in the world, with collectors literally fantasizing about somehow, someday, being able to add it to their collection. What makes this coin's appeal so universal is that it combines every element collectors look for: dramatic visual impact that anyone can appreciate even without expertise, multiple significant errors that appeal to specialists, a fascinating backstory of discovery that captures the imagination, impeccable authentication by the most respected grading service, an evaluation that places it among the most valuable coins on Earth. This is a coin that transcends the hobby and becomes a cultural phenomenon, a symbol of unexpected fortune and the idea that life-changing treasures can literally come back to you as change from a vending machine. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are the chances of finding another coin like this? Honestly, the odds are astronomical. The combination of 5 major errors on one coin is so unlikely that this may represent a truly unique specimen, the only one of its kind in existence. However, that doesn't mean you should stop looking, because even finding a single error type on a state quarter can be valuable. A wrong planchet error alone could be worth thousands or tens of thousands. A dramatic off-center strike might bring hundreds or thousands, depending on severity and condition. And even more common errors can still be worth significantly more than face value. The key is to examine every coin you receive, because you never know when you might spot something unusual. So what should you look for specifically with 2000 D South Carolina quarters? First, check the color if you find one that appears golden or brassy instead of the normal silvery color. That's an immediate red flag that it might be struck on a wrong planchet. Next, check the centering. Even a slightly off-center strike is worth investigating. Compare the size to other quarters. If it looks or feels larger, it might be broadstruck. Examine the edge. Smooth edges instead of reeded edges indicate a collar malfunction. Look for any signs of multiple strikes like ghosted or doubled images, and check for die breaks, cuds, or raised blobs anywhere on the coin. If you find any of these characteristics, stop handling the coin immediately. Protect it in a holder and get it professionally examined. The condition considerations for a coin like this are interesting because with such dramatic errors, condition becomes somewhat secondary to the errors themselves, while a pristine, uncirculated example will always command a premium. Even a circulated example with these errors would still be phenomenally valuable. The $185 million valuation applies to the known specimen in its current state of preservation, which shows some minor circulation wear but remains in overall excellent condition considering what the coin went through during the minting process. If another example were found in perfect, uncirculated condition, the value could theoretically be even higher. The South Carolina quarter design itself carries significant historical weight. The palmetto tree symbolizes strength and resilience, dating back to the Revolutionary War battle where the spongy palmetto logs absorbed British cannonballs rather than shattering, allowing the Americans to successfully defend the fort. Finding that this quarter, celebrating this symbol of American determination and unlikely victory against the odds, would itself become the subject of an unlikely discovery and victory for the person who found it. Feels almost poetically appropriate. It's as if the spirit of resilience and unexpected triumph is embedded in the metal itself. The impact this discovery has had on coin collecting cannot be overstated. Enrollment in coin clubs surged after news broke. Young people who'd never considered collecting suddenly became interested. Families started going through their change together, turning it into a bonding activity and educational opportunity. And the general public gained a newfound appreciation for the possibility that ordinary objects in everyday use might be extraordinary treasures in disguise. This coin single-handedly proved that the American dream of stumbling upon fortune is not just a fantasy, but a genuine possibility that can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. Think about the broader implications of this discovery. We live in an increasingly digital world where physical currency is used less and less. People pay with cards, phones, and digital wallets. But stories like this remind us of the tangible magic that exists in physical coins, each one a small piece of metal that passed through dozens or hundreds or thousands of hands, each one carrying its own microscopic history, and a tiny fraction of them carrying errors that make them worth fortunes. In a world that often feels predetermined and algorithmic, the randomness and possibility inherent in coin collecting offers a refreshing sense of wonder and opportunity. The educational value of this coin extends far beyond numismatics. It teaches lessons about attention to detail, the importance of knowledge, the value of curiosity, and the reality that fortune favors the prepared mind. The truck driver who found this coin could have easily just glanced at it, noticed it looked weird, and tossed it in a tip jar or spin at the next truck stop. Instead, he paid attention, applied what little knowledge he had, investigated further, and ultimately discovered $185 million. That decision to pause, to examine, to question, that's the decision that changed his life, and it's a decision available to anyone who takes the time to really look at the coins passing through their hands. So here we are at the end of this incredible journey through 4 of the most valuable state quarters in existence. We've covered the 2017 Ellis Island Quarter worth $80 million, the 2006 South Dakota Quarter worth $115 million, the 2005 Minnesota Quarter worth $120 million, and finally this absolute legend, the 2000 South Carolina Quarter worth $185 million. Together, these 4 coins represent nearly $500 million in potential value. And every single one of them was found in ordinary pocket change by ordinary people who simply took the time to examine their coins carefully. The message I want you to take away from this video is simple but profound. Look at your coins. Don't just mindlessly accept them and stuff them in your pocket. Take a moment, examine them, compare them to other coins. Notice if anything looks unusual, different, or wrong, because that moment of attention could change your life forever. Start checking your quarters today. Focus on state quarters from any year. Look for off-center strikes, wrong planchets, die breaks, doubling, rotation errors, unusual colors, size differences, edge anomalies, anything that doesn't look quite right. And if you find something suspicious, protect it and get it authenticated by professionals. I want to thank you for sticking with me through this entire video, for investing your time in learning about these incredible coins, and for joining me on this treasure hunt. Remember, the next time you receive quarters and change, you might be holding a fortune in your hands without realizing it. Every coin tells a story, and some of those stories end with life-changing wealth. So keep searching, keep examining, and keep dreaming, because as these 4 coins prove beyond any doubt, the impossible is possible, the unlikely does happen, and ordinary people really can discover extraordinary treasures hiding in plain sight. This is the beauty of coin collecting, the reason millions of people around the world are passionate about this hobby, and the reason you should start checking your change today. Who knows, maybe the next incredible discovery story I cover on this channel will be yours. Maybe you'll be the one who finds that 1 in a billion error coin, and maybe your life will be changed forever by simply paying attention to something most people ignore. Until next time, happy hunting, keep your eyes sharp, examine every coin, and remember that fortune truly does favor those who seek it. This is the Coin Hunter reminding you that your next quarter could be worth $185 million. So don't spend it before you check it.